All right, here we are. Another Confederate commander to learn about. This guy is one of my favorites out of the entire war just because of his mentality during the war. His name is General Thomas Stonewall Jackson, and you will learn next week why he was given the nickname of Stonewall Jackson. He is also a West Point graduate. He's also fought in the Mexican-American War alongside a lot of the other officers, and actually really did distinguish himself. Winfield Scott remembered Jackson from the Mexican-American War as someone who really had a mind for moving troops on a field. He was pretty highly intelligent at tactics, and so he is going to be a very important commander for Lee. And in fact, he's going to win so many of his own battles under Lee that his popularity amongst the Southern people will grow tremendously, and he will be looked upon as one of their heroes. He's right up there with Robert E. Lee. Opposite would be that of James Longstreet. If you haven't gotten to Longstreet yet, you'll understand what I'm talking about. He is a master tactician. He wins a number of early battles in 1861 and 1862, and it's probably because of him that other nations around the world begin to think by 1862 and 1863 that the Confederates might actually win the war, and think about maybe even recognizing the Confederate government as a legitimate government. He pushes his troops to the limit. They're referred to as foot cavalry. They don't actually ride horses. They're infantry. They walk everywhere, or they take a train if they're fortunate. But when they do walk, they can walk up to 10 miles a day. That's how far he would push his troops. And they were okay with the way he treated them. He was not the nicest general in the world, but the reason why they were okay with him pushing them so hard is because he delivered victory after victory after victory, to the point where a lot of his troops believed that he was the smartest general, and that as long as you were under Jackson's command, his armies were pretty much invincible. Because he just won battle after battle, despite the fact that they were outnumbered, they might be outsupplied, they might be outgunned. Somehow, Jackson just knew how to maneuver his troops around and was able to score a lot of victories. You learned yesterday on the worksheet that one of the advantages the South had over the North is the generalship. The generals on the Southern side at the outset of the war were much more talented than those of the Union at the beginning. But eventually that tide's going to turn, along with a lot of other factors. He was a very eccentric individual. One of the reasons why I like Thomas Jackson so much as a historical figure is he would do these weird things like, officers rode horses when they were in battle. So he would ride into battle with one arm raised up in the air. He said it kept the blood balanced in his body. He constantly sucked on lemons. Don't know why. Lemons are absolutely terrible for your teeth. You should not eat lemons. It's not a problem having lemonade or lemon in your water, but do not eat a lemon raw. And if you do, don't eat them very often. But he sucked on them all the time. He was a fervent believer in Christianity. He always thought his troops would fight harder on a Sunday because he felt like God was on his side. He would preach to his troops. He just did all kinds of really weird, eccentric things. And if you ever get a chance to do some more research about him, you'll get a kick out of things Thomas Jackson did. Obviously a fervent believer in states' rights and slavery. So on the personal side, not a great guy, but really, really interesting fellow when it came to the war. In May 1863, in the middle of a battle, he unfortunately is riding in and out of his own lines in an effort to try and find out what's going on. And he comes across, he comes galloping up to a group of Confederate guards, and it's late in the evening, and there's fog, and the guards can't quite make out who it is, and so instead of telling the person on the horse to halt, they just open fire and they shoot him accidentally. They shoot him in the left arm, and he is taken to a field hospital. They amputate his arm because they can't save it. The damage is too bad, and he suffers for about another week. Contracts pneumonia while he is trying to recover, and eventually he dies in May 1863. And it's a huge blow to the Confederacy. Not only is he super popular, so the morale of the people and the citizens of the Confederacy, but Lee feels like, my number one officer, just like Lincoln lost his number one at the beginning of the war. Lee now feels in the middle of war that he's lost his number one guy as far as commanding troops in the field. So he's not going to end up making it. A blessing in disguise probably for the Union in the fact that this guy did not hang around too much longer and probably could have caused the war militarily to go into a different direction or been extended even longer. But nonetheless, he's killed, and unfortunately, that's unfortunate for the Confederacy in the end. You can go ahead and move on to the next QR code.